Her throat kept closing around the same unasked sentence. Not a prayer. Not an apology. Something worse. Hope. Her hands wouldn't stop remembering the mistake. And the quiet after it. Sofia Alvarez stood at the edge of the elevator bank on the 39th floor of Arcane Studios, feeling as though she'd already stepped off something high. The hallway lights were clean and expensive, the kind that made every surface look intentional. Marble that didn't need to prove it was marble. Glass that didn't show fingerprints even when your mind insisted they had to be there. She'd been here 8 months. She still didn't belong. There was a softness to her that she kept trying to sand down. Not weakness exactly. More like an apologetic way of taking up space. She'd learned to walk quickly to keep her voice even, to laugh at the right volume in the kitchen when other people laughed. She'd learned where not to stand during meetings, which chair not to take, when to offer a file without being asked. She'd learned to disappear politely. And now she was about to be seen. The elevator doors opened with a muted chime. A man in a charcoal suit stepped out, speaking into an AirPod with the calm authority of someone who knew his errors were never catastrophic. He didn't look at Sofia. Nobody did, not really. They moved around her like she was a feature of the building. She watched the doors begin to close again, then forced her hand up, palm flat, to the sensor strip, stopping them. Inside, the elevator smelled faintly of metal and something floral that cost more than her rent. Sofia stepped in alone. The doors slid shut. For a moment there was only the thin hum of ascent and her own breath, which refused to behave like a normal breath. Too shallow. Too quick. Like her body thought it was running even while she stood still. Her laptop bag was heavy on her shoulder. She shifted it, adjusting the strap. Once, twice, as if the repeated gesture could rearrange more than fabric. Her fingers found the same place on the strap seam, rubbed it, released. Found it again. A small habit she'd developed in the last week, since the error. Since the email chain. Since the subject line that still burned behind her eyes. Urgent, Tokyo rebrand deck, final delivery. Final. Delivered. Wrong. Not wrong in an obvious way, not a typo you could laugh at later. Wrong in the way that made people stop speaking mid-sentence when they realized what it meant. Wrong in the way that turned a room cold without anyone raising their voice. A versioned file. A last-minute export. An asset swap. A single slide that contained a competitor's concept reference that was never meant to leave internal. A confidentiality breach. $1 million client. A legal call that lasted less than 4 minutes. Creative director who didn't shout, which somehow made it worse. Sofia had been told to wait in conference room C. She had waited. She had watched the minute hand move without moving her body. She'd stared at the bevel of the table and tried not to throw up. She'd listened to people in the hallway whisper her name in clipped syllables, as if saying it too loudly might contaminate them. Then she'd been told calmly that Valentina Corsini wanted to see her. The 41st floor was restricted. The 40th belonged to executives and directors and the kind of people who didn't carry their own coffee. The 41st was Valentina, and whatever air she required. The elevator slowed. Sofia's knees softened as if the building itself had leaned. The doors opened. The hallway up here wasn't brighter. It was quieter. The carpeting absorbed sound like a vow. There were no desks, no assistants visible, no cheerful signage. Only a long corridor with art that looked like it had never been purchased, only placed. Sofia stepped out, her footsteps disappearing immediately. She adjusted her bag strap again. That seam. That reassuring edge. She let her fingers rest there like a child holding a blanket corner. At the end of the corridor, a single door. Matte black. No label. A small panel beside it glowed, waiting. Sofia hesitated. Not because she didn't know what to do. Because her body didn't want to walk toward judgment. She thought absurdly of the first day she'd been hired. The way she'd stood in the same building's lobby with her cheap blazer and nervous smile, convinced someone would stop her and tell her there had been a mistake. That junior designers didn't get hired at Arcane unless they had family connections or perfect confidence or some invisible protection. She had none of those things. She had only talent. And talent was never armor. She lifted her hand. Knocked once. Twice. A voice, low and controlled, came through the door. Not loud, but close, as if the speaker stood right behind it. Come in. Sofia's chest tightened around the syllables. She pushed the door open. Valentina Corsini's office was not what Sophia expected. Not cold glass and steel. Not the sterile modern power people wrote articles about. It was warm in a way that didn't ask permission. Dark wood. A wide rug in muted tones. Floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over Manhattan as if the city had been arranged for her. And Valentina herself. She was behind a desk that didn't look like a desk so much as a decision. She wore black, of course she did, but it wasn't severe. It was tailored softness, a silk blouse, a jacket that fit like it had been made with a ruler and a memory. Her hair was pulled back with a precision that made Sophia feel messy by comparison. There was no jewelry except a thin watch. Her hands rested lightly on a folder. She did not stand. She looked up. Sophia felt it like a hand placed at the base of her throat. Valentina's gaze was not the casual glance people gave in hallways. It didn't skim. It landed. It held. It was the kind of attention that made you suddenly aware of your posture, your mouth, the way your eyes had nowhere to hide. Alvarez, Valentina said. Sophia swallowed. The sound was loud in the room, an embarrassment. Yes, she managed. Yes, ma'am. A flicker, so small Sophia almost imagined it, passed through Valentina's face at the word ma'am. Not irritation. Something quieter. As if the title was both correct and unpleasant. Close the door. Sophia turned, did it carefully. The click felt final. When she turned back, Valentina was still watching her. Not in a predatory way. In a measuring way. In a way that made Sophia feel as though she'd been reduced to details. The tremble in her fingers, the faint flush on her cheeks, the way her breathing refused to slow. Sit, Valentina said, gesturing to a chair across from her. Sophia sat. The chair was upholstered in something that felt like velvet under her palms. Soft, expensive, unforgiving. She kept her hands in her lap, interlacing her fingers to stop them from shaking. It didn't work. They trembled anyway, a small betrayal of her carefully curated competence. Valentina opened the folder without haste. She slid out a printed document and set it down, aligning it with the edge of her desk like a ritual. There was a pen beside it, placed with the same deliberate exactness. Sophia realized with a sudden wash of nausea that Valentina already had the paperwork ready. Termination. A severance offer. A non-disclosure clause. She had always heard stories about Valentina Corsini, the woman who built arcane studios from nothing after escaping an arranged marriage in Italy at 19. Some said she'd left in the middle of the night. Some said she'd walked out with her head high at the wedding itself. Nobody knew for sure. They only knew what followed, the empire, the clients, the reputation. Second chances were a myth around her. Valentina looked at the paper. Then she looked at Sophia. I'm told you delivered the wrong deck to the Tokyo account. Sophia's mouth went dry. Her tongue stuck for half a second as if it too wanted to pretend this wasn't happening. Yes, she said. Yes. Valentina waited. The silence demanded more. Sophia forced herself to speak, because if she didn't, the silence would become the story. It was a versioning mistake, she said. I was exporting from the shared drive and there were 2 folders with similar names. I should have double-checked. I didn't. Her voice cracked. She hated herself for it. I understand how serious it is. Valentina's expression didn't change. Sophia felt the urge to add more, to pour words into the space, to make it less unbearable. She'd always been like that, filling silence with explanation, as if enough sincerity could replace competence. She stopped herself, bit the inside of her cheek, tasted the faint metallic tang of her own blood. It grounded her, a sharp little reality. Valentina closed the folder slowly. Do you understand, Valentina asked, what it costs a company like mine to recover from an error like this? Sophia's eyes burned. She blinked hard, refusing tears. Tears would be a humiliation she couldn't take back. Yes, she whispered. Valentina leaned back slightly in her chair. The movement was minimal, but it changed the energy in the room. It made Valentina seem even more still, as though she had no need to hurry because time belonged to her. Sophia's heartbeat thudded against her ribs. She could hear it absurdly. She wondered if Valentina could hear it too. She wondered if Valentina could see the way Sophia's breathing kept catching, like a stutter. Valentina's gaze dropped, not to Sophia's face, but to her hands in her lap. To the way Sophia's fingers were laced too tightly, knuckles pale. Sophia tried to loosen them. Couldn't. You're trembling, Valentina observed. The statement wasn't cruel. It was factual. That somehow made it worse. Sophia inhaled, forcing air in. I'm sorry. Valentina's eyes lifted again. For the error? Sophia's throat tightened. For being like this. Valentina's mouth twitched, almost. A smile. It didn't fully arrive. It hovered, then disappeared, like a thought she refused to indulge. You think this is about manners, Valentina said softly. Sophia stared at her, confused and afraid. Valentina reached for the pen. She rolled it between her fingers once, twice, not signing anything yet. Just feeling its weight. A controlled gesture. Habit. Sophia found herself watching Valentina's hands with a focus that startled her. The long fingers. The clean nails. Faint vein near the wrist. The watchband hugging skin. Her body reacted before her mind could label it. A warmth in her stomach. A tightening low in her abdomen that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with proximity, with attention, with the impossible fact of being watched like this. Sophia's breath caught. Valentina noticed. Of course she did. Sophia looked away too quickly, shame rising like heat. You asked for more time, Valentina said. Sophia's head snapped up. I did. She swallowed. Forced herself not to beg. Begging was humiliating. But she was here to beg. That was the truth she couldn't disguise. I know what everyone thinks, but I can fix it. I can work nights, weekends, whatever you want. I just need, please don't end my career over this. Valentina's eyes held her. Unblinking. Your career, Valentina repeated as if tasting the phrase. Sophia nodded, desperate. Yes, I don't have anything else. This is the first place that... She stopped. The sentence was too revealing. She didn't want to say that believed in me because it sounded pathetic. Because she wasn't sure Arcane ever believed. It simply hired. Valentina set the pen down without signing. The small click of it against the desk sounded loud, intimate, like a tap on skin. You are not indispensable, Valentina said. Sophia flinched. She felt the words as a bruise. Valentina continued, her voice even. But you are... usable. Sophia's stomach dropped. Usable. The words struck her in two directions at once. Professional and something darker, something she didn't want to name. She tried to breathe. Tried to stay upright. Valentina stood then. Not abruptly. With a controlled grace that made it look like standing was an option she exercised when she wished. She walked around the desk, slow enough that Sophia felt each second like pressure. The sound of Valentina's heels was soft on the rug. Not sharp, not aggressive. Still, inevitable. She stopped beside Sophia's chair. Sophia's body reacted again. Her skin tightened. The hairs on her arms lifted. She could smell Valentina now, faintly. Something clean and bitter, like bergamot, like black tea, layered over warmth. Not perfume that announced itself. Something that lingered close to the body. Valentina looked down at Sophia. Sophia couldn't look away. The power imbalance was not theoretical in this moment. It was physical. Valentina's height, her stillness, the way she occupied the air like it was hers to spend. Sophia's seated position made her feel smaller than she actually was. Like a girl. Like someone who needed permission to exist. Valentina's hand lifted slightly, paused in the air near Sophia's shoulder, hesitated. Sophia's breath stopped. Valentina did not touch her. The hand remained suspended for half a second too long. Then it lowered. The almost touch landed harder than a touch would have. Sophia's mouth went dry. Her pulse hammered. She adjusted the strap seam on her bag again, fingers searching for the familiar edge, as if she could anchor herself to anything real. Valentina watched that small motion. You're very young, Valentina said. It wasn't an insult. It was an observation that felt like a hand beneath Sophia's chin, turning her face. Sophia forced herself to speak. I'm 24. Valentina's eyes stayed on her. I know. The words should have been normal. Of course she knew. It was in her file. But something in Valentina's tone made Sophia's skin heat. Made her wonder how Valentina knew. Whether she'd read the file or remembered the detail like she remembered how Sophia took her coffee. Sophia inhaled. Exhaled. Her breath was too loud. Valentina walked to the window. The movement broke the spell, but not completely. Sophia watched her stand with her back to the city, the skyline behind her like an extension of her authority. Valentina spoke without turning around. I do not offer second chances. Sophia's throat tightened again. She braced herself. Valentina continued, and the word but felt like a door opening in a room Sophia had assumed was locked. I do make deals. Sophia blinked. Deals? Valentina turned slightly, enough to look at her over her shoulder. Her eyes were dark, unreadable. You want more time, Valentina said, as if continuing a conversation they'd started long ago. Then give me something in return. Sophia's stomach twisted. Her mind raced through possibilities: unpaid overtime, public humiliation, demotion, a contract clause that would follow her forever. She thought of every warning she'd ever been given about powerful people and the things they could demand when you were desperate. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Valentina walked back toward her. Each step was measured, controlled. The room seemed to narrow around that movement. She stopped in front of Sophia's chair again. Closer this time. Close enough that Sophia could see the fine texture of Valentina's blouse, the faint shadow at her collarbone, the way her breath moved the fabric barely. Sophia's body reacted like it understood something her mind refused to say. Warmth. Fear. A pull. Valentina leaned down slightly. Not enough to invade, just enough to make the air between them intimate. 6 months, Valentina said. Sophia's lips parted. You will accompany me, Valentina continued, voice low, to corporate events. Investor dinners. Business travel. You will stand beside me, speak when spoken to, and learn to carry yourself like you belong in rooms that would rather swallow you. Sophia stared, stunned. Valentina's gaze didn't flicker. In exchange, you will have the time and resources to correct what happened with Tokyo. You will have direct mentorship from me. Sophia's heart pounded so hard she felt dizzy. It was a lifeline, and also a leash. Sophia's voice came out rough. Why me? Valentina paused. The silence stretched. Sophia could hear the city faintly through the glass, a distant, restless roar. Inside the office, everything was still. Valentina's eyes moved over Sophia's face in a way that wasn't purely professional. Not openly, not crudely, but as if she was looking at something she had been trying not to look at. You're intelligent, Valentina said finally, and presentable, and you're inconveniently sincere. The last phrase landed with strange softness. Sophia felt her throat tighten for a different reason. Not fear. Something close to being seen. But this is beyond professional, Sophia whispered before she could stop herself. The honesty slipped out raw and unpolished. People will talk. Valentina's mouth curved slightly. This time the hint of a smile held for a heartbeat longer. People already talk, Valentina said. Sophia swallowed. And what if I say no? Valentina straightened. The air shifted. The room felt colder by degrees. Then, Valentina said calmly, we end this conversation and you leave Arcane today. Your file will reflect the reason. Sophia's stomach turned. Valentina looked at her as though Sophia were a problem with 2 solutions, and nothing in between. Sophia's mind spun, seeking a third option. There wasn't one. She thought of her small apartment with its thrift store lamp, and the half-finished canvases leaning against the wall. She thought of her mother's pride the day she'd gotten the job, the way her family had told everyone at church that Sophia worked at a luxury branding company in the city. She thought of the thin line she'd walked to get here, the nights she'd stayed late, the fear she'd hidden beneath politeness. She thought of losing it. And beneath all that fear, beneath the practical panic, there was something else. A quiet, shameful spark she hadn't admitted to herself until now. The idea of being near Valentina did not only terrify her. It thrilled her. Not in a crude way. In the way a cliff edge thrills you. In the way a storm thrills you when you're safe behind glass and still feel the thunder in your bones. Sophia's breath shuddered. Valentina watched it happen, watched Sophia's body betray her. You're thinking too loudly, Valentina murmured. Sophia's cheeks flushed. She hated that Valentina could read her so easily. She hated that she wanted Valentina to keep reading. Valentina stepped closer again, just enough that Sophia could smell that bitter, clean scent more clearly now. Tea. Citrus. Something warm underneath. Sophia's skin tightened. Valentina's voice lowered, intimate without being kind. This is not romance, Sophia. Sophia's name in Valentina's mouth sounded like a touch. "It's an arrangement," Valentina continued. "A professional one." Sophia heard the lie, or at least the attempt at it. The word sat on the air like a thin veil. "And if I accept?" Sophia whispered, voice trembling. "What happens between us?" Valentina's gaze held hers. Still. Controlled. A pause. Then, softly, almost like a promise she didn't intend to make, Valentina said, "We learn restraint." Sophia's breath caught. A small sound escaped her that she couldn't control. Valentina's eyes flicked to Sophia's mouth for half a second, then back to her eyes. That microscopic glance was a shockwave. Sophia's body reacted in a way that made her feel suddenly, painfully alive. Heat in her chest. A tightening in her stomach. The sensation of being pulled forward by something she hadn't chosen. Valentina stepped back as if she'd given enough and knew it. She moved to the desk, picked up the pen again. Rolled it once between her fingers. The gesture was controlled. Familiar. A reminder that she was still herself. She wrote something on the document. Sophia couldn't see what. Not a signature. A note. An amendment. An all-rearrangement of Sophia's life. Sophia sat utterly still, trapped in the chair's velvet softness, feeling the world tilt in slow motion. Valentina slid the paper across the desk toward her. "Read it," Valentina said. Sophia stood on shaky legs and approached. Her bag strap slid slightly. She caught it, rubbing the seam again, once, twice. Before letting it fall, she read. It wasn't explicit. It wasn't obscene. It was written in legal language that made it sound harmless. Accompaniment services, representation, professional mentorship, confidentiality, term of 6 months. But the subtext was everywhere. In what was not written. In what was implied. Sophia's hand hovered over the pen. Valentina watched her with that same unblinking attention. "You can walk away," Valentina said, voice calm. "And you will, immediately." Sophia looked up. "Why are you doing this?" Valentina's expression didn't shift, but something in her eyes tightened, like a door held shut from the inside. "Because," Valentina said, and her voice softened by a fraction, "you are not the kind of mistake I enjoy losing." Sophia's chest tightened. The phrase settled into her like a weight and a warmth at the same time. Not a compliment. Not an apology. A possession disguised as logic. Sophia's mind looped around it. Not the kind of mistake. Enjoy losing. The words repeated, slightly altered with each heartbeat, as if her brain was trying to find the safest interpretation and failing. She looked back down at the contract. Her signature would not just save her job. It would bind her to Valentina's world. To Valentina's attention. To the constant question of what was real and what was part of the deal. Sophia's hand trembled over the pen. Valentina waited. The office held them in a kind of stillness that didn't feel peaceful. It felt charged, like air before lightning. Sophia could hear the faintest whir of the building's ventilation. The far-off siren of a city that didn't care about her moral panic. Somewhere below, people were laughing in the kitchen, living normal days. Here, Sophia's life narrowed to a single point. Ink on paper. She imagined 6 months of dinners where Valentina's hand might hover near her back as they entered a room. 6 months of hotel corridors and elevators, and private cars. 6 months of learning Valentina's silences, her preferences, her moods. 6 months of being watched. The thought made Sophia's stomach flip, fear braided with something dangerously close to desire. She picked up the pen. The metal was cool against her fingertips. Valentina's gaze stayed on her hand as if it were the only thing in the room. Sophia hesitated. Her breath hitched. And then, with a steadiness she didn't feel, she signed her name. The pen scratched softly across paper. A small sound. A permanent one. When she finished, Sophia's hand didn't immediately let go of the pen. Her fingers stayed wrapped around it as if releasing it would release everything she'd just done. Valentina reached out. Her hand covered the pen. Covered Sophia's fingers for the briefest moment. Not quite a touch, not quite avoidance. Skin against skin. Warmth. Pressure. A pulse Sophia felt even after Valentina withdrew. Sophia's breath stuttered. I.e.? No. Not that. Not exactly. Valentina took the pen from her gently, as if Sophia were fragile glass. Good, Valentina said, and the word landed in Sophia's body like a command and a caress at once. Sophia stood there, not sure where to put her hands, her eyes, her face. Her entire nervous system felt exposed. She could feel the imprint of Valentina's touch on her fingers, could feel her own skin warming around it as if remembering. Valentina slid the contract into the folder. Closed it. A clean, final motion. Then she looked at Sophia. "You will have your first event with me next week," Valentina said. "A private dinner with investors. You will wear something simple. Black. You will not fidget." Sophia's fingers twitched reflexively, reaching for the bag strap seam. She stopped herself. Too late. Valentina's eyes flicked to the movement. A pause. Valentina's voice dropped slightly, intimate without softening. "And you will stop apologizing for existing." Sophia felt a sharp, unexpected sting behind her eyes. Not tears, something else. A crack. Valentina stepped around her, heading toward the door as if the meeting had been a transaction, and now it was complete. She opened it. Sophia didn't move at first. Her legs felt disconnected from her body. Valentina glanced back. "Ned Alvarez." Sophia looked up. Valentina's eyes held hers for a beat too long. In that fraction of time, Sophia felt something irreversible shift inside her, not a decision, not an acceptance, but the first clear recognition of danger that was also desire. Valentina's mouth parted slightly as if she might say something human. Instead, she only said, "Don't make me regret this." Sophia swallowed. Her voice came out faint. "I won't." Valentina's gaze lingered. Then she stepped away, leaving the door open like an invitation and a warning. Sophia walked out into the corridor, the silence wrapping around her again. She adjusted her bag strap once, twice, fingers finding the seam. Only this time, it didn't calm her. It reminded her. "Not the kind of mistake I enjoy losing." The phrase repeated in her head as she walked toward the elevator, each repetition changing slightly, tightening, warming, sharpening. Not a mistake. Not the kind. Enjoy losing. Her stomach fluttered. Her skin felt too alive. When the elevator doors closed, Sophia finally exhaled. One long breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding since Valentina said 6 months. Her reflection in the elevator's glossy wall looked like someone else. Paler. Dots. Awake in a new way. Like a person who had signed more than a contract. Like a person who had agreed to be wanted by someone who did not believe in second chances. And somewhere beneath the fear, beneath the shame, beneath the thrill, a quiet fracture opened. Because Sophia realized she didn't just want to keep her job. She wanted to know what Valentina meant by restraint. Her body had not returned to neutral. Not on the subway ride home. Not while brushing her teeth. Not while lying on her bed with the lights off staring at nothing. Sophia kept feeling the echo of a hand that had barely touched her. Not quite a memory. Not quite an absence. Something in between. Morning arrived without ceremony. Gray light slid through the narrow gap between her curtains, settling across the ceiling like a thin, indifferent film. Sophia lay still for several minutes, listening to the distant traffic, the neighbor's shower, the hum of the radiator that never quite decided whether it worked. Her phone rested on her chest. No messages. She hadn't expected any. That almost made it worse. 6 months. The number had weight now. Not abstract. Not legal. Physical. She rolled onto her side, pulling the sheet up to her chin even though she wasn't cold. Her mind tried, unsuccessfully, to return to normal worries. Rent. Groceries. The half-finished logo concept she'd been avoiding. Cracked nail she should fix. Instead, it returned to Valentina. To the way her eyes had flicked to Sophia's mouth. To the pause before she'd said we learn restraint. Sophia pressed her face into the pillow, exhaling slowly. No. Not that. Not exactly. She forced herself out of bed. The routine was familiar enough to almost work as camouflage. Shower. Coffee. Toast she didn't really want. Black sweater. Jeans that made her feel marginally less like a child playing dress-up in a corporate world. She stood in front of the mirror longer than usual. Not in a vain way. In an unsettled way. As if she were trying to determine what version of herself existed now. She didn't look different. But something in her eyes did. Sophia slung her bag over her shoulder and left the apartment. The city moved the way it always did. People arguing with phones. Someone laughing too loudly. A man selling flowers outside the subway entrance. Life continued. It felt vaguely offensive. At Arcane, nothing looked altered. The lobby was still pristine. The receptionist still smiled the same professionally neutral smile. The scent of coffee and an expensive cleaning solution still mingled in the air. Nobody stopped her. Nobody whispered. Which meant nobody knew. Not yet. Sophia rode the elevator to her usual floor. 39. She didn't belong on 41. Not officially. That knowledge sat inside her like a small contained fire. Her desk looked exactly the same. The tiny plant she kept forgetting to water. The sketchbook tucked beside her monitor. The pen with a cracked cap she refused to throw away. She sat. Opened her computer. Stared at the desktop background. The Tokyo project folder stared back. Her stomach tightened. Work. Work. She needed to work. She needed to prove, to herself more than anyone, that she was not only surviving because of a deal. She pulled up the deck. She began correcting. An hour passed. Then another. Time did strange things when she focused. It stretched and shrank unpredictably. At some point she realized she hadn't checked her phone once. That was when a shadow fell across her desk. Sophia looked up. Valentina Corsini did not belong on 39. Not physically. Not energetically. The floor changed around her. Conversations softened. Chairs shifted. People suddenly remembered places they needed to be. Valentina wore charcoal today. A fitted jacket. Slim trousers. Hair pulled back again. The same watch. The same controlled stillness. Sophia stood too fast. Good morning. Valentina's eyes moved over her in a way that was not overtly anything. Not assessing. Not devouring. Not neutral either. Good morning, Sophia, Valentina said. Sophia's name. Again. It still felt like something private. I'm reviewing your revised Tokyo materials at noon, Valentina continued. You'll bring them to my office. Sophia nodded. Yes. A beat. Valentina didn't leave. People pretended not to watch. They were terrible at it. Valentina's gaze dropped to Sophia's screen. You've corrected the asset sequencing, yes, and I'm rebuilding the narrative flow. The concept is stronger if it breathes more. Valentina's mouth curved faintly. Good, she said. You learn quickly. The word landed softly. Not praise. Not indifference. Something in between. Valentina straightened. Black tonight. Sophia's brain lagged half a second. Tonight, investor dinner, Valentina said. I told you. First event. Right. Sophia's stomach fluttered. Yes, she said. Black. Valentina hesitated. Just a fraction. You don't need to buy anything expensive, Valentina added. Simple is better. Sophia nodded. Another pause. Valentina's eyes met hers. A quiet moment stretched between them. Not enough to be obvious. Too long to be accidental. Then Valentina turned and walked away. Sophia sat back down slowly. Her hands were shaking. Not violently. Enough. She stared at her screen without seeing it. Black tonight. Simple. Her mind supplied images unhelpfully. Not of dresses. Of proximity. Of standing beside Valentina. Of being introduced. Of being looked at by strangers and known by only one person in the room. Sophia swallowed. She forced herself back into the deck. Noon arrived too quickly. Sophia rode the elevator alone to 41. Again. It didn't feel like a fluke this time. It felt deliberate. The corridor was as silent as before. Valentina's door was closed. Sophia knocked. Come in. The office smelled the same. Tea. Citrus. Warmth. Valentina stood near the window this time, phone in hand. She ended the call without explanation. Show me. Sophia walked to the desk, plugging in her laptop with hands that refused to be steady. She pulled up the deck. Valentina moved closer. Not hovering. Not touching. Close enough that Sophia could feel the heat of her body. Close enough that Sophia became acutely aware of her own breathing. They stood side by side. Sophia scrolled. I reorganized the opening, Sophia said quietly. It focuses more on emotional architecture than visual shock. Tokyo responds better to subtlety. Valentina finished. Sophia glanced up, startled. Valentina was looking at the screen. But the fact that she'd known what Sophia was going to say did something unsettling to Sophia's chest. Yes, Sophia said. Valentina leaned slightly closer. Their shoulders did not touch. The space between them felt intentional. Electric. Sophia could smell Valentina more clearly now. That same bitter, clean warmth. Her skin prickled. This works, Valentina said. Sophia exhaled. A small sound escaped her before she could stop it. Valentina's eyes flicked to her. Sophia froze. Valentina said nothing. She reached out and pointed at the screen. Her knuckle brushed Sophia's hand. Barely. Accidental. Maybe. Sophia's breath hitched. Valentina did not pull away immediately. Neither did Sophia. The contact lasted a heartbeat. Then two. Valentina withdrew. The absence was louder than the touch. Sophia stared at the screen, pulse pounding. Valentina said, "You will correct slide 14. The typography is still timid." Sophia nodded. "Okay." Valentina's voice lowered slightly. "You don't need to be timid." Sophia's throat tightened. Was that about the slide? Probably. Maybe. Valentina stepped away. The room seemed to exhale with her. "Dinner is at 8, Valentina said. "Car will pick you up at 7:30. Sophia looked up. "At my apartment, yes." Sophia's mouth went dry. Valentina watched her process that information. "Unless you prefer to meet there," Valentina added. Sophia shook her head quickly. "No, I mean, yes. The car is fine." Valentina's mouth curved faintly again. "Good," she said. A pause. "Do not mistake visibility for vulnerability tonight," Valentina added. "You observe, you listen. You speak only if I invite you to." Sophia nodded. Then, before she could stop herself, "What happens if I mess up?" Valentina considered her. "You won't," she said. It was not reassurance. It was expectation. Sophia didn't know which was more terrifying. She left with her heart in her throat. The afternoon crawled. Every email felt louder. Every minute felt heavier. By the time Sophia arrived home, her nerves felt exposed. She stood in front of her closet. She owned 3 black dresses. One was too tight. One was too casual. One was acceptable. She chose acceptable. She showered longer than usual. She dried her hair carefully. She applied minimal makeup. She kept wiping it off and starting again. Simple. Simple. She repeated the word like a spell. At 7:29, her phone buzzed. "Your car has arrived." Sophia stared at the message. Then she picked up her bag and left. The driver didn't speak. The car smelled like leather and something faintly sweet. Sophia watched the city slide past, light streaking softly against the window. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Yes? Are you in the car?" Valentina's voice. Sophia's stomach flipped. "Yes." A pause. "Good," Valentina said. "Remember, you don't owe anyone charm." Sophia swallowed. "Including you." Another pause. Longer. Then quietly, "Especially me." The line went dead. Sophia stared at the phone. Her heart felt too large for her chest. The restaurant was discreet in the way that meant expensive. Valentina was already there. She wore black. Of course she did. A dress this time. Not dramatic. Not modest. Precise. Sophia stopped just inside the entrance. Valentina turned. Her gaze moved over Sophia slowly. Not openly sexual. Not neutral. Intentional. "You look appropriate," Valentina said. Sophia didn't know why that felt like praise. "Thank you," she said. Valentina gestured. "Walk with me." They moved through the restaurant side by side. Valentina did not touch her. She did not need to. At the table, Valentina pulled out Sophia's chair. Sophia hesitated. Valentina's eyes met hers. Sophia sat. Their knees brushed under the table. Accidental. Maybe. Sophia's breath stuttered. Valentina did not move away. Conversation flowed around them. Investors. Numbers. Expansion plans. Sophia listened. She watched. She learned. Valentina occasionally glanced at her when someone said something interesting, as if silently checking that Sophia was keeping up. Sophia always was. At one point, an older man smiled at Sophia. "And you are?" he asked. Sophia opened her mouth. Valentina said calmly, "She's with me." The simplicity of it made Sophia's stomach flip. "With me?" The man nodded. Conversation moved on. Sophia stared at her water glass. Her fingers tightened around it. Valentina's foot brushed against hers. Not accidental. Sophia's breath caught. Valentina did not look at her. The contact remained. Sophia's entire body focused on that single point of connection. Heat. Pressure. A question without language. Valentina's foot withdrew. Sophia almost made a sound. Later, in the car ride home, neither of them spoke. The silence was dense. Not a word. Loaded. When the car stopped outside Sophia's building, Valentina didn't immediately exit. She looked at Sophia. "You handled yourself well," Valentina said. Sophia nodded. A pause. "Thank you for not making this difficult," Valentina added. Sophia swallowed. "I don't know how to make it anything else." Valentina's mouth curved faintly. "Neither do I." Another pause. Valentina opened the door, then hesitated. She looked back. "Sleep," Valentina said. "Tomorrow will feel heavier." Sophia nodded. Valentina stepped out. Sophia watched her walk toward her own waiting car. Black dress. Straight spine. Unreachable. Except not unreachable. Sophia stood in the doorway of her building long after Valentina left. Her body hummed. Not satisfied. Not denied. Suspended. She realized with quiet terror that she was no longer afraid of wanting Valentina. She was afraid of how much she already did. Their bodies had started preparing long before either of them admitted it. Not in a dramatic way. Not with clarity. With small betrayals. Sophia noticed it in the mornings first. The way her stomach tightened when she dressed. The way her breath shifted when she chose black without being told. The way her hands paused in front of the mirror, hovering, as if adjusting something invisible. Nothing had happened. Everything had. She learned Valentina's rhythms. Not schedules. Not public routines. Private rhythms. How Valentina drank her espresso in 3 slow sips. How she removed her watch the moment she entered a hotel room. How she stood slightly too close when reviewing Sophia's work, then stepped back as if correcting herself. They did not speak about the deal. They lived inside it. Days passed. Meetings. Emails. Revisions. Car rides. Dinners. Flights. They became practiced at standing beside each other. Not touching. Not avoiding. Something more precise. Sophia began to recognize the sensation before it became a thought. A warm tightening low in her abdomen. A faint pressure in her chest. A shallow breath she didn't remember choosing. It happened when Valentina said her name. When Valentina leaned in to look at a screen. When Valentina's voice dropped half a register. Her body reacted. Her mind arrived later. Sometimes much later. The awareness did not feel like desire at first. It felt like orientation. Like her nervous system had quietly decided where to face. One evening, after a long day of internal reviews, Valentina told Sophia to stay. Not sharply. Not formally. "Come with me," she said, already walking. Sophia followed. They did not go to Valentina's office. They went to a small conference room at the far end of 41. One Sophia hadn't been in before. No windows. Soft, indirect lighting. A single table. 2 chairs. Private in a way that wasn't theatrical. Valentina placed her phone on the table. Face down. Sophia mirrored the action without realizing she was doing it. They sat. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence did not feel empty. It felt arranged. Valentina reached for the water carafe. Poured 2 glasses. The sound of liquid against glass felt too loud. Sophia wrapped her fingers around the cool surface of her glass. She didn't drink. Valentina studied her. Not with hunger. Not with distance. With something quieter. "You've stopped apologizing," Valentina said. Sophia blinked. "I didn't notice." Valentina's mouth curved faintly. "I did." Sophia looked down at her hands. A warmth moved through her chest. Not pride. Not relief. Something closer to being seen. Valentina added, "You're more precise lately." Sophia swallowed. I'm trying. That's not what I meant. Sophia looked up. Their eyes held. A small thing shifted. Not a collapse. Not an explosion. A tilt. Sophia's breath felt heavier in her lungs. She waited. Valentina did not continue. The silence stretched. Interior silence. Sophia became acutely aware of everything. The hum of the ventilation. The faint citrus tea scent clinging to Valentina. The subtle way Valentina's knee angled toward hers. Not touching. Pointed. Sophia's thoughts did not form clean sentences. They came as fragments. Too close. Don't move. I want, no. Not that. Not exactly. Her body, however, was very clear. Warm. Open. Attentive. Valentina reached for her own glass. Drank. Set it down. You're quiet, Valentina said. Sophia almost laughed. I'm always quiet. Valentina's gaze lingered. You're quiet differently. Sophia didn't know how to respond to that. So she told the truth instead. I don't know what I'm allowed to say to you. Valentina considered her. That makes two of us. Sophia's pulse jumped. Micro-interaction. Small. Contained. Dangerous. Valentina leaned back slightly. You've never asked me why I made the arrangement, Valentina said. Sophia's stomach tightened. I assumed you didn't want to answer. Valentina's eyes darkened. Assumptions are comfortable, she said. They prevent disappointment. Sophia hesitated. Then, why did you? Valentina did not answer immediately. She looked at Sophia as if assessing risk. Not professional risk. Personal. You came into my office prepared to lose everything, Valentina said slowly. And you didn't try to charm me. Sophia frowned. I was terrified. Exactly. Valentina's voice softened by a fraction. Most people try to become something else when they're afraid. Sophia swallowed. You stayed. Yourself. Sophia felt exposed in a way that had nothing to do with skin. Valentina continued, quieter now. I found that disruptive. Sophia's chest tightened. Not flattering. Not romantic. Honest. Verbal or near-verbal confession. Not of desire. Of impact. Sophia's mouth felt dry. I don't know what I am to you, Sophia said. Valentina's jaw flexed once. That's not an accident. Sophia held her gaze. Am I only convenient? The word tasted bitter even as she said it. Valentina did not answer right away. The silence stretched long enough to hurt. Then Valentina stood. Not abruptly. Not slowly. Deliberately. She walked around the table. Sophia's body tracked her without permission. Valentina stopped in front of her. Close. Standing. Sophia remained seated. The power dynamic was unmistakable. Not cruel. Not kind. Present, taut. Valentina bent slightly. Not enough to invade. Enough to make the air intimate. You are not only convenient, Valentina said. Sophia's breath stuttered. Valentina's hand lifted. Paused. The same almost touch as before. The same hesitation. Sophia felt it like a held breath between them. Say something, Valentina murmured. Sophia didn't know what, so she told the truth again. I think about you when I shouldn't. Silence. Heavy. Alive. Valentina's eyes closed briefly. Just a second. When they opened, something had shifted. One irreversible emotional shift. Not a collapse. A crack. I think about you, Valentina said very quietly. Sophia's heart lurched. Not in triumph. Not in relief. In terror. In awe. In recognition. Neither of them moved. The moment did not feel like a doorway. It felt like standing on the edge of one. Sophia's body reacted first. She leaned forward. Barely. An unconscious motion. Valentina did not step back. Their proximity changed. The space between their faces shrank. Sophia could see individual eyelashes. The faint texture of Valentina's skin. Feel the warmth of her breath. Her mind screamed. Stop. Wait. Don't. Her body did not listen. First physical crossing. Sophia lifted her hand. She did not aim for Valentina's face. Not boldly. Not confidently. Her fingers brushed Valentina's wrist. Light. Questioning. A test. Valentina inhaled sharply. Did not pull away. Instead, Valentina turned her hand. Slowly. Deliberately. Their palms met. Not interlaced. Not gripping. Pressed. Skin to skin. Warm. Electric. Sophia felt it everywhere. In her stomach. In her thighs. In her chest. Valentina's thumb moved. Barely. A single slow stroke across the inside of Sophia's wrist. Sophia gasped. A small, helpless sound. Valentina froze. Their eyes locked. The room felt suspended. Valentina leaned down. Sophia tilted her chin up without realizing she was doing it. Their lips hovered. So close Sophia could feel Valentina's breath. Sensory or bodily echo. Heat. Anticipation. A pulse so loud it felt external. Valentina whispered, "If I kiss you." Sophia finished it without thinking. There's no going back. Valentina's mouth curved, almost sad. Sophia didn't give herself time to be afraid. She closed the distance. The kiss was not hungry. Not practiced. Not smooth. It was brief. Soft. Unsteady. A brush. A meeting. A confirmation. Their lips touched. Sophia felt it like a current through her entire body. Valentina made a low sound in her throat. Not a moan. Not quite restrained either. Sophia pulled back half an inch. They stayed close. Foreheads almost touching. Neither of them smiled. Neither of them apologized. Neither of them spoke. Everything had changed. And nothing had been solved. Emotional fixation. Sophia could still feel Valentina's thumb on her wrist. Even though it had stopped moving. She did not know what would happen next. She did know this. Whatever this was, it was no longer theoretical. No longer contained to implication. No longer something she could pretend belonged only to imagination. Valentina's eyes searched her face. Not possessive. Not distant. Uncertain. Human. Sophia felt strangely calm. Not safe. Not stable. Calm. Like a door had closed behind her. And another had opened. They did not kiss again. They did not step apart either. They stayed suspended in the aftermath of the first crossing. Breathing the same air. Holding the same dangerous quiet. Neither willing to be the first to pretend it hadn't happened. They didn't separate. Not immediately. Not in any meaningful way. They stayed in that narrow space where breath overlaps, where the idea of distance feels theoretical. Sophia was acutely aware of Valentina's presence in layers. Warmth first, then scent, then the subtle pull of gravity that seemed to bend slightly toward her. Nothing moved. Everything moved. Sensory immersion. Sophia felt the texture of Valentina's palm against hers, the fine lines of skin, the faint pressure where their hands met. She felt the quiet tremor in her own fingers, and if she paid attention, a barely there answering tension in Valentina's. Their mouths were no longer touching. Sophia could still feel where they had. A soft echo. A ghost of pressure. Valentina's breath brushed her upper lip. Sophia's eyes drifted closed. Not intentionally. Her body chose. Interior silence. No sentences. No conclusions. Only awareness. I did that. She didn't stop me. I don't want to stop. Her heartbeat slowed in an odd way, as if some internal argument had exhausted itself. Valentina exhaled. The sound was quiet. Human. Feel. Micro-interaction. Valentina's thumb moved again. Not along Sophia's wrist this time. Up. A slow, exploratory slide to the base of Sophia's palm. Question. Sophia answered without words. Her fingers curved slightly. Not gripping. Holding. Valentina's jaw tightened. A single muscle. It felt significant. Valentina straightened a fraction. The movement created space. Not much. Enough to breathe. We shouldn't be here, Valentina said. Not harsh. Not convincing. Sophia opened her eyes. I know. They looked at each other. Neither moved. Neither released. The contradiction lived between them, fully acknowledged and fully ignored. Valentina's voice lowered. Come with me. Sophia did not ask where. She nodded. Valentina led. Not by pulling. By stepping. Sophia followed. They did not go back through the main corridor. Valentina guided them through a side door Sophia hadn't noticed before, down a short private hallway, and into a smaller space that felt less like an office and more like a personal annex. A sitting area. A low couch in dark fabric. A floor lamp casting amber light. A small bar cart. A door beyond that likely led to Valentina's private bathroom. Private space escalation. The door closed behind them with a soft click. The sound landed heavily. Sensory immersion. The air here was warmer. More intimate. Less filtered. Sophia became aware of her own skin as if it were newly invented. Valentina stopped near the couch. They faced each other. Not touching. Not distant. Suspended again. Interior silence. Sophia noticed something surprising. She wasn't shaking anymore. Her body felt steady. Alert. Present. Valentina studied her. Not with dominance. Not with hunger. With attention. Real attention. You can say no, Valentina said. Sophia swallowed. Not because she was uncertain. Because hearing the option made everything feel real in a new way. I don't want to. Valentina's eyes softened. Just slightly. Verbal reassurance or consent. If you want me to stop, Valentina added, you tell me. Sophia nodded. Valentina lifted her hand. Slow. No suddenness. No claim. She brushed her knuckles along Sophia's jaw. Barely there. A line of warmth. Sophia inhaled sharply. Slow physical exploration. Valentina's touch was exploratory in the most restrained sense of the word. Not searching for erogenous zones. Not aiming. Learning. The curve of jaw. The edge of chin. The place beneath Sophia's ear. Sophia tilted her head without realizing she was doing it. Offering. Valentina's fingers slipped into Sophia's hair. Not gripping. Threading. Sophia felt the contact everywhere. Her hands hovered, uncertain. Valentina noticed. She reached down. Took Sophia's hands. Placed them gently at Valentina's waist. A placement. Not a command. Sophia's fingers curled into fabric. The jacket was smooth. Warm from Valentina's body. Sophia felt suddenly dizzy. Not from fear. From closeness. Valentina leaned in. This kiss was different from the first. Slower. More deliberate. Their mouths met with intention. Not urgent. Not careful either. A meeting that expected to continue. Sophia parted her lips instinctively. Valentina followed the invitation. No tongues. Just the soft slide of lips. Pressure. Release. Return. Sophia's body responded like it recognized a language it had always known. Her hands tightened slightly at Valentina's waist. Valentina made a small sound. Not loud. Not restrained enough to hide completely. Sensory, or bodily echo. Heat pooled low in Sophia's abdomen. A slow, spreading warmth. Valentina deepened the kiss fractionally. Not faster. Deeper. Sophia leaned into her. Their bodies aligned. Not fully pressed. Close enough to feel. Chest to chest. Hip to hip. Sophia felt the outline of Valentina's body through fabric. Strong. Solid. Real. Valentina's hand slid from Sophia's hair to the back of her neck. Thumb resting at the base of her skull. A grounding hold. They broke the kiss slowly. Foreheads touching. Both breathing harder. Sophia's lips tingled. Valentina's eyes stayed on her mouth for a second before lifting. Micro-interaction. Valentina brushed her thumb across Sophia's lower lip. A gesture so intimate Sophia felt exposed in a new way. You're very responsive, Valentina said quietly. Not teasing. Not mocking. Observing. Sophia flushed. I don't know how to pretend I'm not. Valentina's mouth curved. Not a smile. Something warmer. Good. Valentina kissed her again. This time Sophia initiated. Not confidently, but willingly. Their mouths met and parted in a slow rhythm. A learning curve. Not choreography. Valentina's hand slid down Sophia's arm. To her elbow. to her wrist, to her fingers, interlacing, their hands laced together. Sophia felt something settle inside her. Not possession, not safety. Connection. Valentina guided Sophia backward gently, until Sophia felt the couch behind her knees. Valentina didn't push. She waited. Sophia sat. Valentina remained standing for a beat, looking down at her, not with power, with consideration. "Is this okay?" Valentina asked. Sophia nodded. Yes. Valentina knelt in front of her instead of sitting beside her. The choice felt deliberate. Not towering. Not equal height either. Different. Intimate. Valentina's hands rested on Sophia's thighs. Warm. Still. Sophia's breath stuttered. Interior silence. "This is happening. I'm here. I want this." Valentina leaned forward. Kissed Sophia again. Sophia's hands slid into Valentina's hair. She didn't plan it. Her fingers simply found their way there. The texture was softer than she expected. She felt a strange surge of affection that had nothing to do with arousal, a wanting to be gentle. Valentina responded by shifting closer. Their bodies pressed more fully now, not grinding, not seeking friction, simply aligning. Sophia felt Valentina's weight slightly. Not heavy. Present. Grounding. Sensory or bodily echo. Warmth. Pressure. Breath. The world narrowed to these sensations. Valentina pulled back just enough to speak. "We don't have to go further than this." Sophia swallowed. "I don't want to stop." Valentina's eyes searched her face, not looking for compliance, looking for certainty. Sophia met her gaze. "I want you." The words surprised Sophia with their steadiness. Valentina closed her eyes briefly. Quiet exhale. Then she kissed Sophia again. Slower. Deeper. Their mouths explored more fully now. Still restrained. Still tender. Valentina's hand slid up Sophia's side. Over ribs. Paused. A question. Sophia leaned into the touch. "Answer." Valentina continued. The contact was intimate without being explicit. Mapping. Learning. Sophia felt like her body was becoming a place Valentina was memorizing. And she realized with a soft shock that she was doing the same. The curve of Valentina's shoulder. The warmth at her waist. The solid reassurance of her presence. Emotional fixation. Sophia became aware of a repeating thought. Not fear. Not strategy. This feels real. Not in the sense of permanence. In the sense of truth. They did not undress each other. They did not rush. They stayed in the space of closeness, kisses deepening and softening in cycles, hands exploring within boundaries that felt mutually understood rather than spoken. Time blurred. Eventually, Valentina rested her forehead against Sophia's. They were both breathing unevenly. Not frantic. Weighted. Valentina brushed Sophia's hair back from her face. "You're going to change everything," Valentina said quietly. Not as accusation. Not as praise. As acknowledgement. Sophia didn't know what to say. So she told the truth. "So are you." They stayed like that. Close. Warm. Not solved. Not separated. Softened. Suspended inside something fragile and alive. The quiet afterward didn't feel like relief. It felt like standing in a room after music ends, still hearing the shape of it in the air, still feeling the vibration in the bones. Sophia lay angled on Valentina's couch, shoes slipped off at some point without memory, her back against a cushion that smelled faintly of wood polish and that bitter clean note that had started living in her bloodstream. Valentina's hand had been on her hair a moment ago. Or maybe it was longer. Time had loosened its grip. Emotional re-entry. Sophia's mouth still carried the soft ache of kissing. Her skin felt warmed from the inside out, like she'd swallowed something hot and it had traveled through her. Every time she inhaled, she could taste the room, dim amber light, the quiet hum of an expensive building, the faint citrus edge of Valentina's presence. She hadn't expected tenderness to feel so destabilizing. Not the kiss. She'd expected that to terrify her. Not the closeness. She'd been afraid of that for weeks without knowing it. What she hadn't expected was this, the way her body wanted to stay near Valentina without needing a reason. Just stay. Valentina moved in the room, out of Sophia's sight at first. Sophia heard the soft click of a cabinet, the gentle pour of water into a glass, fabric shifting, a long exhale that sounded like it belonged to a person who had been holding herself together for years. Sophia didn't speak. Neither did Valentina. Silence wasn't empty between them. It was their new language, still learning its grammar. Shared microlife. Valentina returned and placed a glass of water on the low table within Sophia's reach. "Drink," she said. It wasn't harsh. It was caring, disguised as instruction. Sophia pushed herself upright slowly. Her hair fell forward. She swept it back with a clumsy hand. The movement made her aware of her own body in a way that didn't feel performative now. She was simply a person in a room, breathing. She took the glass. The coolness shocked her fingertips. She drank. 2 swallows. Then another. The water tasted like nothing, and it was still the best thing she'd had all day. Valentina sat on the other end of the couch, not pressed against Sophia, not distant either. Close enough that Sophia could feel the heat of her through the cushion, a quiet radiance. Valentina had removed her jacket. Her blouse collar sat slightly looser than it had earlier. Her hair was still pulled back, but a few strands had escaped, softening the severe line. Sophia caught herself looking. Valentina noticed. Sophia looked away too quickly, cheeks warming. Valentina said nothing, only reached for her own glass and drank, watching Sophia over the rim. The gesture shouldn't have felt intimate. It did. Interior silence. Sophia's thoughts came in loops. What did I just agree to? What does she think this means? What do I think it means? And underneath those questions was something quieter. I don't want to be ashamed of this. She tried to locate fear. It was there, of course, tucked behind her ribs, ready to flare. But something else lived beside it now, something steadier. A strange softness. Valentina shifted slightly, angling her body toward Sophia, elbows resting on her knees for a moment, like a woman who had forgotten how to rest and was trying anyway. "You're quiet," Valentina said. Sophia let out a short breath that was almost a laugh. "I'm always quiet," she said again, then added, "I just don't know what to do now." Valentina's eyes narrowed a fraction, not in suspicion, more like focus. "There is no correct thing to do," Valentina said. "Not in this." Sophia stared at her hands around the glass. The water trembled faintly. Valentina's gaze moved to that tremor. Sophia tightened her grip as if she could control her nervous system with willpower. Valentina said softly, "Don't punish yourself for being human." The words landed too close to the truth. Sophia looked up. "You don't say things like that," she whispered. Valentina's mouth curved, brief and tired. "I know." A pause. Then, quieter, Valentina added, "I'm trying not to say nothing." The honesty hit Sophia in a strange place, somewhere under her throat. She felt it like a small pull, like a thread catching. Micro-interaction. Sophia set the glass down carefully. The sound of it on wood was small and deliberate. She glanced toward the door, the one that led back to the main corridor. A reminder that outside this room, the world still existed. Arcane still existed. Their titles still existed. "This can't," Sophia began. Valentina's gaze sharpened. "Finish the sentence." Sophia swallowed. "This can't make me look like a rumor," she said. "I can't be the thing people think I am. The young woman who," her voice caught, "who traded something for her job." Valentina's face went very still. It wasn't anger. It was something older. Something protective and dangerous. "You are not that," Valentina said. Sophia shook her head once. "But people will say it." "And?" She hesitated, then forced it out. "And there's some truth in the imbalance, Valentina. You do control my future." Saying Valentina's name out loud felt like stepping closer without moving. Valentina's eyes flicked as if the name changed the air. Subtle shift toward commitment. Valentina didn't respond immediately. She looked down at her own hands. For the first time, Sophia noticed a faint tremor in Valentina's fingers, so slight it could have been nothing. It wasn't nothing. Valentina exhaled slowly. "You're right," she said. The admission was so rare it sounded almost foreign coming from her. Valentina leaned back, eyes lifting to Sophia again. "I can't undo that," she said. "Not tonight, not with a sentence. Sophia waited, chest tight. But I can choose what I do with it, Valentina continued. And I can choose what I refuse to do. Sophia's mouth went dry. What do you refuse to do? Valentina held her gaze. I refuse, Valentina said, voice low, to let anyone reduce you to something convenient. Sophia's chest ached. The pain was not unpleasant. It was too much feeling in too small a space. Valentina's tone changed slightly, less steel, more intent. And I refuse to pretend this didn't happen, she added. Only to use it against you later. Sophia stared. Would you? Valentina's jaw flexed. No, Valentina said with a kind of quiet ferocity. And if you ever believe I might, you tell me. Immediately. Consent didn't sound like poetry in Valentina's mouth. It sounded like a contract. A vow she'd written for herself. Sophia's breath shuddered. I don't know how to trust you. Valentina's gaze softened. Then don't call it trust, call it clarity. Sophia frowned. Clarity? Valentina leaned forward again, careful. Say what you need, I will answer. Not perfectly. Not romantically. But honestly. Sophia's throat tightened. She had never been offered that by someone with power. Not without performance. Not without cost. Sensory or bodily echo. Sophia became aware of the couch beneath her, the warmth that lingered where Valentina's body had been close. Her lips felt tender. Her fingertips remembered the texture of Valentina's hair. The room seemed to hold their breath in its corners. Outside, faintly, the city insisted on itself. Distant sirens, a horn, the low thrum of life refusing to pause. World continuity. Sophia's phone buzzed once in her bag. She ignored it. Valentina's phone remained face down on the table. It stayed silent. A rare mercy. Sophia said, I need to know I can leave. Valentina's eyes lifted, sharp. You can. Sophia shook her head. Not physically. I mean, emotionally. Professionally. I need to know that if I decide I can't handle what people will say, or I can't handle the way it makes me feel. She swallowed hard. I need to know you won't destroy me. Valentina went very still again. Then she nodded once slowly, like a woman making a decision she couldn't take back. I won't, Valentina said. And if you ever want to walk away, I will make it clean. Sophia blinked, stunned. Valentina added, no references. No whispers. No punishment. I will not let you become a cautionary tale. Sophia's eyes burned. She looked away, embarrassed by the emotion. Valentina's voice softened. Sophia. Sophia's name again. Warm. Careful. Sophia looked back. Valentina's hand lifted. This time, it didn't hover. Touch becomes intentional. Valentina brushed Sophia's knuckles with the back of her fingers. Slow, deliberate contact. Not claiming. Not taking. A quiet reassurance with skin instead of words. Sophia inhaled sharply. Her body answered before her mind could decide if it was safe. She let her hand turn palm up. Valentina's fingers slid into hers. Their hands held. Not tightly. As if holding too tightly would turn tenderness into possession. Sophia stared at their joined hands, stunned by how simple it looked. How ordinary. How dangerous that ordinariness was. Emotional fixation. The phrase returned, uninvited. We learn restraint. But now it sounded different. Not denial. Not punishment. A promise to be careful with something precious. Sophia swallowed. What happens tomorrow? Valentina's gaze flicked upward, toward the invisible ceiling, as if tomorrow were waiting like a meeting she couldn't cancel. Valentina answered without flinching. Tomorrow, she said, we go back to work. Sophia's chest tightened. And this? Valentina's thumb moved once across Sophia's knuckle. A single slow stroke. This, Valentina said quietly, stays ours. Sophia felt a sharp pull in her chest, wanting and fear braided together. Is that what you want? Sophia whispered. Valentina didn't answer immediately. She looked at Sophia as if she were reading a complicated brief, except this brief had blood and breath in it. I want... Valentina began, then stopped. The pause was so human, Sophia almost couldn't bear it. Valentina tried again. I want you to not become smaller because of me, Valentina said. Sophia blinked. Valentina's voice lowered. And I want, Valentina added, to stop pretending I'm only capable of control. Sophia's throat tightened. A long silence settled. Not empty. Full. Sophia's mind ran in loops again, but slower now, more deliberate. She's offering me something. Not everything. Not safety. But something real. Sophia shifted slightly closer, testing the space. Valentina didn't pull away. Sophia leaned her head back against the couch, exhaling slowly. I don't know what this is, Sophia whispered. Valentina's gaze stayed on her. Neither do I. Sophia let out a breath that sounded like surrender. Then she asked softly, Can you stay here? Just like this? Valentina's eyes softened. Yes, Valentina said. Sophia's eyes closed. Valentina's hand remained in hers. The simple contact steadied Sophia in a way she hadn't expected. Minutes passed. Maybe longer. They didn't speak. Their breathing slowly synchronized. Sophia felt herself drifting, not fully asleep but softened at the edges, suspended in the quiet after the storm. At some point, a blanket appeared over her shoulders. She didn't open her eyes, but she felt it, the weight of fabric, the warmth settling. And then Valentina's fingers brushed her temple, gently pushing a strand of hair back. Tender gesture, so small it could have been nothing. It was everything. Quiet morning or post-intimacy presence, even before morning arrived. The feeling of care without spectacle. Sophia's voice came out sleepy, barely audible. Valentina? Valentina answered immediately. Yes. Sophia's eyes stayed closed. Tell me something true, Sophia murmured. Valentina was silent for a moment. Then she said, very quietly, I have wanted to touch you since the day you walked into this building. Sophia's breath caught. Her eyes opened slowly. Valentina's face was closer than before, not looming, not distant. Just there. Human. Watch removed now. Sophia noticed it on the table, a small symbol of loosened armor. Sophia stared at her. You knew, Sophia whispered. Valentina's gaze held hers. Yes. Sophia felt a surge of emotion that was not cleanly labeled. Anger, maybe. Relief. A strange, aching tenderness. She whispered, That's unfair. Valentina nodded once. It is. Sophia's throat tightened. Then why am I not furious? Valentina's thumb moved across Sophia's knuckles again. Because, Valentina said softly, you feel it too. Sophia didn't deny it. She couldn't. The honesty sat between them like a candle flame. Sophia leaned forward, slow, giving herself time to be afraid. Valentina didn't move. Sophia pressed her forehead gently to Valentina's shoulder. Not a kiss. Not a demand. Quiet need. Valentina's hand came to the back of Sophia's head, steadying her. Holding her there with careful pressure. Sophia's body softened fully against her. Suspended. Not solved. But held. Outside, somewhere in the building, a distant elevator chimed. A reminder that time would resume. That this room was borrowed. Valentina's voice was close to Sophia's hair. We have to be careful. Sophia whispered, I know. Valentina added, almost to herself, I don't know how to do this without strategy. Sophia lifted her head slightly. Looked at her. Then learn, Sophia said. Valentina's eyes narrowed, not in anger, something like wonder. Sophia's voice trembled, but she meant it. Learn with me. Valentina didn't answer with words. She leaned in. Their mouths met again, softly, not deepening into urgency. A kiss that felt like aftercare, like confirmation. When they parted, the air remained warm. Valentina's eyes stayed on Sophia's, and Sophia felt the intensity soften, not disappearing, not closing, just settling into something quieter, something that could last through the return to daylight. Emotional fixation. We learn restraint. This time it sounded like we learn each other. They stayed like that, hands joined, breath shared, the city continuing beyond them, holding a future they hadn't defined yet, but couldn't pretend wasn't there. A love can begin like a secret, and still feel like the first honest thing you've ever held. What does it cost to choose desire when power is watching, and can you ever make that choice feel clean? Some stories don't end when the moment fades. They stay with us, asking to be felt. If this story awakened something you recognize, you're welcome to share your truth in the comments. And if this journey stayed with you, consider subscribing to Secret Garden Stories and sharing it with someone who might feel seen. Your support helps this space grow, a world with more love, more honesty, and less silence. Thank you for being here.